Yo, 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 what's poppin', all my peeps? It is I, your host with the most renaissance man who always thinks he can, and champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, joined alongside, as always, the best of the West you can't forget about, Sarah Marshall, for another Raw Rewind. Sarah, what's poppin', girl?
Hey, yo.
Oh, yeah, baby.
That's how I'm feeling today. Well, hey, yo.
Yeah.
Not like I'm calmed down from the nonsense that I dealt with for the past 13 hours almost, delivering the fish. And I'm just honestly happy to be here talking wrestling. Okay, I'm here to we're in the Yard of Stream, Sarah. Raw happened last night, and I kind of need to talk about it. We kind of need to rewind and talk about it.
Okay. I felt like you were going to press a clip, so I'm sitting here waiting.
No, I'm not going to. I was
kind of like a grandpa.
I got some comments here. That's why we got David and
okay.
Raw 94 saying, "What's up?
What up?"
That's what I was kind of looking at. But no, Raw last night, travel issues.
I know, which was kind of random because I mean, obviously it can happen anywhere, but I used to go to the shows in Seattle and that was never a thing. So it must have just been like a weird day, I guess, at the airport. I don't know, but
weird.
Weird.
Like for me, okay, and I want to put this out there just because this is my theory on this for anyone who is probably like, oh, shouldn't they have left before or shouldn't they be there? Like, I feel like people like you could get all negativity out there and blame the card, and because Bianca and Io Sky got cut because of it, and you had other matches get cut.
Well,
too.
Io was in a match. Oh, you mean that match was cut?
Yeah, that's
oh yeah.
And you could have people saying the negative side of like, oh, this because it's a match, like whatever. No, here's the thing with travel issues. Shit happens. Okay.
Yeah, it happens to anybody.
It happens to anybody. So it's just one of those things where I think what it is, and I'm kind of working this out in my head right now, is that I feel like as soon as people saw Bianca Io getting cut, and after last week with the whole disasters, probably worst Raw after Mania in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
You're thinking Vince is still, got his hand in there or whatever. And it gets you worried and you're going to go that Vince might. Like, there's this guy who he's Twitter. It's like JD something from New York. I can't stand him because
he's always like super negative though.
So negative WWE. And
yeah,
I don't praise Vince McMahon's the ground he walks on, but I think he knows what he's doing sometime. I'm not an AEW stan, but god damn it, I love AEW too. Like there's a difference, man. Like you can't be so negative on one side. It's just like,
well, the thing is there's either people who like coexist where they like both shows like AEW and WWE, or it's like you're hardcore AEW, anti-WWE, or vice versa, and it's just like really toxic because I don't watch AEW. I don't particularly like it or have enjoyed it from when I have watched a little bit, but I don't sit there and waste my time tweeting about how crappy the show is or something. Or
no, because that's so
because
different.
Also then you're still watching it, you're still giving them social media interactions, like you're still contributing to the conversation. So I don't know. I think I've realized also that I'm so not in wrestling Twitter, but especially the ones that don't have pictures of themselves, that it's their favorite wrestler. And so seeing the things that they're saying is like so insane to me, like talking about how Triple H has been a horrible guy in creative and that they need an overhaul and like all of this stuff. And I'm like, you guys, he's gonna be learning, but just because your favorite is not on every single week does not mean that he sucks at what he's doing. Like you could have what we had last week all the time if that's what you want.
You want that? I don't
know. It's just strange. So I felt like the show wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad, and it was definitely refreshing from what we saw last week. It was a lot of wrestling and storyline continuation that made sense. And I don't know, I felt like it was definitely a humongous upgrade over the Raw after Mania. So I don't really know, people complaining about the travel issues, like, yeah, that sucks, but
And they
I
had
mean,
travel issues. That's the thing, and they had travel
yeah, and
issues. It was
it's
refreshing.
true. Like, people, I mean, do you really think that Bianca would just like be cut from the show? No, she's the Raw Women's Champion. They would not cut her. That doesn't. Well, I'm
Maybe she went to her own island of relevancy.
okay, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, that's like unlikely. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely.
people just
I
need to
get
calm
what you mean.
down,
You're not coming down.
get over it. You know?
Get over it.
Yeah. Um, are we
Yeah, that's
moving
all I
on?
have to say about
Okay, so let's
that.
just move on
Let's.
to what was Raw then. So we start Raw with Rey Mysterio, which I really enjoyed his mask.
Weren't you so happy that he started the show?
Why?
Just different.
I guess. I don't know. I feel like I don't know.
I
I
feel like the
mean,
bloodline's opened every week.
I guess, but I don't think I really noticed that. But I think it was just because I knew that it was gonna be more of him and Dominic, and I'm just kind of like, at this point with that. But so it's kind of just the same thing. Like, okay, Ray comes out, he talks, Dom comes out. Dom was historically bad last night, I have to say. Flubbing his words and just, and the thing was is like people were saying, like, you're gonna stumble sometimes, you're going to mess up when you're talking, but one, it's really bad when you're a heel, especially to like mess
So
up
bad.
like 3 times and like in a segment, but also to not play it off, like to address it and just to keep like, because then he was like, he's got to stick his nose out of my business, and it was just like, what, like, blame, someone said to me on Twitter, because I tweeted about it, saying he needs like acting classes or like speech classes just to feel more comfortable with speaking, because Ray has never been a historically good speaker on the
No.
mic. But like, Dom, come on now. Like, you have nuclear heat, as we say. And you can't be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, go to speech classes or
My thing
something.
is he got
But
cocky.
I think, yeah, and that's the thing, is like, you gotta kind of like,
He's like, I
you
have
gotta be
nuclear heat.
careful.
I'm part of the Judgment Day. Like, this angle with my dad's going unbelievable. Like, we stole the show at Mania, almost did.
But
I
he's surrounded by too many people, I
That's
feel
what it
like,
is.
to like
There we go.
that mentor him. I mean, everybody except, I mean, him and Rhea are like the same age, but everybody else is like almost old enough to be his dad, like close-ish. I'm not saying they can be.
Daddy
But
Finn.
well, yeah, Daddy. And Bamian,
That
Finn
Bamian, that's what
Balor.
it was.
Um
Bamian Priest.
anyway, so I feel like there's no excuse for that to be happening, because like there's too many people to be like, dude, don't get too big of a head. But anyway, obviously this was just more build up to um Bad Bunny and Rey Mysterio versus Dominic and Damian Priest at Backlash. So that I was like kind of okay with. I do
Yeah,
think what
what do you think of that projected match?
I like it because I like that it's Damian. And Damien makes sense in this. So it's not just like, oh, we're trying to force Damien into this because he's kind of like the forgotten member of the Judgment Day. No, he makes sense because he was friends with Bad Bunny, and I think they've had moments on screen before, like
Oh, I think he was
not
Damian
negative, but
Priest. That's who he tagged with.
yeah. So that's what I
I
mean.
gotta
Like,
check
there's
this.
been like cool moments with them, so it's not just like, they're throwing him to tag with Dom just because they're trying to include somebody different than Finn. Like, no, this makes sense. Um, so I like it because he was the only Judgment Day member that did not have a match at WrestleMania. And I think this is cool, and it's happening in Puerto Rico. So I'm fine with it because, as I said, I'm kind of over the Dominic Rey Mysterio storyline, but the added element of Damien and Bad Bunny makes me a little bit more interested.
It's a Bad Bunny bridge, the Triple B. That's how you get out of the Ray storyline. Use him. You get
Mm-hmm.
Bad Bunny, and then from Bad Bunny, now Dom's in the open world, and then whoever the next, hot young baby face, just ready to make an impact is. That's where Dom goes. That's where you find Dom, and you just have him be the biggest asshole. But Sarah, I looked up. David Priest and Bad Bunny did tag at
Mhm.
WrestleMania, I'm pretty sure. And would you like to guess who they face?
I don't remember because this was like an era of Damian Priest that was weird.
This is where I started to like him. This is where I was like, all right, this dude, he's got something. Uh, I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
This guy's pretty awesome.
The Miz.
And from there, now you got to guess who would he tag with?
Um versus Bad Bunny.
Or just no, don't go that route. Think like who would the Miz just tag with in any tag match, and it would make sense.
Dolph Ziggler. I don't know.
Close.
I don't know. I give up.
Johnny
We're
Nitro.
live on air. I don't want to draw this out.
Johnny Nitro. Or Johnny
Oh, John Morrison. Oh, okay.
Morrison.
I didn't know that was the era of
Oh yeah, they
Morrison.
did like a V2 tour.
Yeah. So anyway, as they're talking, Ray asks for a rematch, and then I thought this was an interesting twist that they're now having Dominic be like, "Oh, I would never fight my own father." And like making it seem like Ray enjoys beating his son, which I think is an interesting plot twist, I
Nuclear.
guess. So
Nuclear.
instead, he says, I know someone who will, and enter Finn. And I'm going to go on a Finn rant again because
Damn right, go for
that's
it.
why I'm here. I was legitimately shocked that it was Finn Balor because dude had 14 staples in his head with like a 5-6 inch gash on the top of his head, courtesy of Edge. And he revealed recently that he was performing with a torn calf. So the fact that he was in this match at all was absolutely crazy. And we talked about this, I think, when we were talking about Mania, that he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves for the crazy injuries that he's powered through. So I mean, obviously it was a good match. And Finn won courtesy of help from Dominic, which I figured that this was going to be like a squash match basically for Rey Mysterio, so I think this was the right way to go for Finn. So yeah, I mean it was what it was. It's just build up to the eventual backlash match. So nothing special, but I mean definitely like you said, it was nice for something different at the beginning of Raw.
And it's nice to have Rey Mysterio versus Finn Balor. You know, you're gonna get that
Yeah.
match because
Mm-hmm.
that's a match that people want to see. You don't care when it's happening, but the
Yeah.
fact that you can say that you watch Finn Balor take on Rey Mysterio, and then
Mm-hmm.
all right, let's peel back the curtain a little bit. How cool is it for Finn Balor to get in the ring with Rey Mysterio
Yeah.
and actually put on a match? And now he's the Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so that's like the great side of things that we're getting from this, that you're just going to get random pairings. And
Yeah.
I feel like people now always want a reason why two people should be fighting in a match. It doesn't have to be in professional wrestling. That's what professional wrestling is. You just two guys. Sometimes it's going to connect. Sometimes it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this was another one of those that like maybe people didn't necessarily hope to see, but it was good and it delivered. So, it is what it is, y'all. Just appreciate what Finn Balor does, okay?
Do it.
Moving on to a women's segment. We knew that the women's tag titles were going to be defended
We knew that they were
against.
going to be swapped.
Oh, well, wait a second. So we knew that they were going to be defended because for some reason they decided that Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez were the number one contenders for the titles instead of Ronda and Shayna, which was just like, what was the point of the women's showcase at WrestleMania? I don't know. Obviously, it was just to be like, oh, we want to give Ronda a win on her resume at WrestleMania. Like that was so important. So we see that Lita was attacked backstage and she was unable to compete, which it had been leaked, if you pay attention to wrestling news, that Trish was going to step in and Lita's place. And for all of you who maybe pay attention to the show and watch it, we have talked about this for weeks, that Trish was going to possibly turn at Mania, and it did not happen. So we knew that it was likely going to happen on Raw. I do want to give a shout out to Becky because, she really carried that match for her side. I mean, I love Trish. Trish is my queen, but this is why they had to take the titles off of them, because like Lita and Trish just can't
Can't do
perform
it.
the way they used to. Um There were a lot of great moments in this match with Liv and Raquel. I actually really like them together, and they're working really well together too. For a team that was just randomly basically put together, I think that their work it's kind of like, it reminds me of Braun and Ricochet. Like, it's not one that you would think of and be like, "Oh yeah, like they would probably be a good tag team." That's kind of how I feel with them. It's like at first it feels forced, but tall and small. That's what I'm gonna call them, tall and small.
Well, Raquel married to Braun or
They're
dating
not
Braun.
married, but yeah, they're engaged,
Dating.
I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we see
But
that Liv. Oh, go ahead. What?
I was just gonna. Do you want me to wait until you say what happens and then I can go on my little?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so Liv and Raquel win because Liv pins Trish to become the new tag team champions. And I was so excited for them because I mean, Raquel too, but I'm partial to Liv, but you could tell how much it meant to them. And Liv was just like so genuinely excited. And, she has had a great year on paper. She won Money in the Bank, she became women's champion, but then kind of since they took it off of her, it's kind of been like a bumpy road. So I thought this was really a cool way of rewarding her.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was when Trish and Becky had a little moment in the ring afterwards, and Trish decided to attack her from behind, which was not really well done, Trishy, but it's okay. Um, and so we knew that was going to happen. People are thinking that maybe Trish is going to be revealed as the one who attacked Lita.
Damn
But
it! That was my theory. That's
I'm
literally
sorry.
that was
I'm sorry.
that was what I think.
That's just what I
Okay.
saw people saying on Twitter last night. They were like, "Ooh, maybe it's Trish is going to be revealed as the one."
All right. Okay. So
But
maybe not because I'm going a step above that.
okay.
Okay. I'm going on my little rant now, Sarah. This is why I'm the goddamn champion. Okay, because I see things miles away before it's right in front of you. I saw this one coming at goddamn WrestleMania. I thought it was going to happen. A little bit inside of me thought it was going to happen at WrestleMania, but it didn't. Okay, and I was fine with that. So I'm like, all right, maybe not the night after Mania. Maybe we're going to get it, a week after, at least a couple weeks before Backlash. Well, what do you know? Lita gets knocked out backstage. Here's my theory, Sarah, A-Town down. I think that it was a ploy. I think that Lita is in on it.
Like she pretended to be
She
hurt.
pretended. She hit the thing, boom, noise,
Well,
holding
no,
her
I think
neck.
they said that they just walked in and she was on the ground. I don't. Did
Even
they say they
better.
heard?
She doesn't have
Yeah.
to make noise. She can just go right into character.
Yeah.
And when like, it was the neck and her shrugging off, like it wasn't serious where, we have like medical staff coming out. You just
Yeah.
whatever. You get my stretchers and everything, so I'm trying to get at. This is setting up SummerSlam, and we got what we wanted with the heel turn. Now, if feed me them at SummerSlam, I think that's going to be a good match, though.
But that's like 4 months away, 5 months away, though.
They're on part-time Legends contracts.
Well, I mean, I guess, but like they can't just have Trish not show up next week or something. I mean, they'll have to try and figure out a way to draw it out. But I mean, 4 months is a long time to draw it out.
No, you have Lita come out and you just drag this out, and Lita's in between both sides. And
no, that's what I'm saying. I said you have to figure out a way to draw it out and keep it interesting because 4 months is a long time to draw it out. That's a long time.
Yeah, it is, but you can do it.
Well, I mean, they don't have to do it at Backlash necessarily, but
no,
it's not a bad idea because if they're not going to have Roman at Backlash, you might as well have Legends at the card because it's kind of ridiculous that Roman's not even going to be on a show for the first time in Puerto Rico in 18 years or whatever.
Sorry, I thought we were told that it's annoying that you do the Roman thing where you complain.
I know it's shame
so
on me
annoying.
Shame on me for wanting the company champion to be on television and the premium live events. Shame on me. I'm sorry. I'm just going full Karen.
Shame.
So ridiculous. Like
shame on you.
But anyway, yeah, no, I think it's going to be sorry, I was reading a comment. I think that it's interesting. I'm very excited to see heel Trish because heel Trish is like one of my favorite things that Trish has ever done. So I'm interested to see where this goes. and how it develops. I think it's interesting because it also keeps Becky out of the title picture, which a lot of people are like, they didn't want her in the title picture because they like, she's always champion, but you don't say
Doesn't
anything
need
with
to.
Charlotte, but whatever, you don't want her champion. So yeah, I think this is a little bit more, this is exactly what we've talked about, where we wanted the women to have legitimate storylines that didn't involve the championship. So this is one of those, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Do we want to
Yeah,
read
I
any
said my
comments?
piece on this. I got what I had to out because oh, that felt good. It feels
Yes,
good to be right, Sarah. Are you gonna get some comments
you
or
can. You can.
ah, thank you. Thank you for thank you.
Okay.
Um oh yeah, King and Razor, just say it. What will we I was reading this. What do we think what's your comment about Charlotte that'll make us laugh? Uh
Is it because
yeah,
I'm like not a big fan,
we saw
or?
that one. Uh yes, I would
Yeah.
totally agree, David.
Yep. And that's what I said too. Like it wasn't the greatest Raw, but it was definitely. I watched the entire show and I was like, oh wow, it's the main event.
Yeah. I like this Kingdom of Razor. I agree with you 1,000%. I think Lita, it's awkward. That's gonna be the word I use for Lita in the ring as of now. It's very awkward. She doesn't do the moonsault like she used to. I haven't really seen her do a Hurricane Rana, a flying Hurricane Rana.
I think
Lita
the
Rana.
problem, the reason why it's so different is that they had such different styles of wrestling because Trish was never a high flyer. So, those, and I don't know, Lita had more of like a, I don't know, like a dominant, like destructive type of style, and Trish wasn't like that. Like she didn't do things and it was like that shouldn't hurt. It was like, no, but like, when she does Stratisfaction, it's like she needs a lot of help with that. That's a finisher that would never work today because it's like she do it to Raquel and Raquel's like holding her in the air so
Yeah,
she can
yeah,
jump off
yeah.
the rope. Like I love Trish, but I think that's kind of why it works a little bit better. And it might just be, maybe she has more time to train. I don't know, but yeah.
And King Razor got one more before we get into our next topic. Sarah, speaking of Charlotte, I think you'll like this new gimmick for her. Make her a final boss character in a video game. You beat her, and she doesn't appear until the next game.
Okay. That would be fine. I would be more into that if she were champion, and I don't want her to be champion.
I don't
Because I
think
know a
me
lot of
either.
people have talked about that in a way for like Roman to be like the final boss. But the thing is, though, is like the final boss doesn't take breaks. So, you know, not when you
Bowser,
have,
look at
not when
Bowser.
yeah, but but the thing is
Oh,
there's,
forgive
it's
him.
not just Mario going after Bowser. There's a locker room full of women that can come after your title, or men, sorry, to come
Yeah,
after the championships. There's no reason for you to be hiding for months. Like,
yeah. There's Wario, Waluigi. You have the
no,
Koopa
when
kids.
you
They're all
play.
going after Mario.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, let's move on. So we got hints of damage control split, which I think, is kind of playing into the whole draft idea. So we saw that Bailey came out all super happy saying that she finally was being put into the women's number one contendership match, which I thought was kind of random. Because she was just going for the title against Bianca just like a couple months ago. But because she wasn't able to get the girlies a tag match. And I like to see this personality from Io and Dakota because you never hear them talk
No.
and they never really defend themselves. So I thought that was really cool because obviously damage control has just not been working as a unit, which is unfortunate. Um,
It was yeah,
and it's not
yeah.
even necessarily their fault.
No, it's not. They're
It's
booked
booking.
incorrectly.
Yeah.
Booked incorrectly.
So they were saying that we want one of us to get a shot. So that ended up being Io Sky, and she was against Mia Yim and Piper Niven. And the most interesting part, I think, about this match was that the crowd was virtually silent when all three girls came out when the match began, but they kicked ass and put on a really great match, all three of them. And
Yeah.
the crowd got super into it, like not like about midway through, once they started doing like these really cool spots and stuff. It was cool to finally hear the crowd come alive. And because, it was like, oh, it's not Bianca, it's not Charlotte, it's not Becky, it's not, whoever. And so they tend to check out, which I think is just kind of ridiculous because just because it's not one of them doesn't mean it's not going to be a good match.
Yeah, and that's kind of something I learned at an indie show when I went up to Limitless is that there was two women wrestlers. It was the manager of the Legion of Doom, his daughter. If someone said the name in the comments, then I could say it.
Mhm.
Um, versus Becca, who was on
Uh-huh.
SmackDown,
Mhm.
and it was silent. Like no one
Yeah.
was talking. Like it was, and some guy was an asshole and yelled like boring,
Yeah, I hate when
and
people do
and
that.
she fucking threw one of these at him. Electric. The whole crowd actually cheered. I think it's
Yeah.
because it was like
Well, cuz you
I
don't
even
do
I'm
that.
like, dude, boring chants you can't really do anymore. So, but right after that, it picked up.
Yeah.
And it was like it was an unbelievable, like, honestly, a really good match. My thing is it was starting too slow. Ring, thank you, Kingdom Razor. Rachel Ring, she fought her. It was unbelievable, really good match. But it started slow, and
Yeah.
that's where I don't want what I'm gonna watch my words here, but that's one thing that I've noticed with women's wrestling is that it starts a lot slower than the men's sometimes. If they're when they're trying to be like technical and
Yeah.
going full mat stuff, it's a little bit slower. So you gotta, and that's not a bad thing. It's more technical.
I think,
This
yeah,
is
it
a
just
more
depends on the
technical.
moment because I think sometimes that's better than when they just jump straight out and start doing all this stuff because then it's like, okay, it's too much.
Yeah,
Like,
build up to it.
it's too
Yeah.
much. Yeah. The one thing that I didn't like, and I think it was in this match, was and it's just because I noticed it in this match and I've just noticed it over the last several weeks, but I am getting super tired of the jumping through the ropes out onto the floor on people standing outside the ring. I am so sick.
With suicide dives,
Yes, yes. Is being used way too much. It's in almost every single match. And it's like,
it's the
okay,
new super kick.
it's
It's the
too
new
much.
super kick.
It's too much. Like it's cool every now and then, you know what I mean? But the fact that it was used in like this match like 4 times, I was just like, okay, it's lost its cool factor. Like
I
it's not it's just I'm not I don't know. I saw someone else had mentioned it that it's just being used too much. And so that reminded me last night when I was watching this and I was like, yeah, I think we need to add some more moves to our move set. You know what I mean?
well, the thing is that the suicide dive so easy to do and by easy, hold on, let me elaborate. By easy, I mean it's an easy way to do a move outside of the ring to get that, spot pop
Mhm.
of, the crowd like, "Oh my god, he went outside the ring and now, and then whatever." It's an easy way to do it for bigger people or, whatever, where you don't have to do a springboard and then do some ricochet or whatever type BS. And that's kind of where we're at, where like if you're not doing, a shooting star press, we'll just say, for example,
Mhm.
springboard off the top, and you're just doing like the best attempt at a suicide dive or jump over the rope, whatever, it's got to be used correctly, and we're seeing too much of it being overused
Yeah.
just because like we can do it.
Yeah, and it's like, it gets a reaction almost every time. So it's like,
Well, it's
okay,
always
but
gonna get a
yeah,
reaction to me. I
it
love
was just it's just too much. But anyway, it was a really good match by all 3 of them, and I was happy for all 3 of them. Io Sky won, which she deserved it. I mean, I like the other 2. I like Mia and I like Piper, don't get me wrong, but
I
Io
would
is
like to
just
see Mia Yim, but
well,
Io Sky yeah, you needed
it's
to go this
kind of
way.
like what I was seeing people say is that Mia fell victim to AJ Styles being hurt too, because that put the club on hold, which then put her on hold. And so she's just kind of been in this space of nowhere, basically. So it was really cool that she got this match. And then of course I would like to see Piper used more because she's again just like Io, they're underrated. So
Very
I'm very
underrated.
excited to see Io versus Bianca. They didn't say when that was going to happen, so we'll find out soon. But yeah, Io is too good to just be sitting behind, damage control and not getting shots because whatever. But like she was really good in NXT. So you're not even listening to me.
I am listening,
No, you're not, because you're like thinking you thought of something, so you're like focusing on what you're thinking
but
about.
it has to do with what you're saying.
Yeah, but you didn't listen. Trust me, I understand. That's what my family
Okay,
does to me.
but hear me out. what if they're gonna take the title off Bianca with Io, and then you just have Damage Control vie for the title throughout the entire summer?
I mean, that depends on if they stay on the same show, though, and I don't think they will. I think they've hinted at them splitting. I think that the way they're going to split is either Io and Dakota get moved or Bailey gets moved. I think that's how it's going to be. I would be more inclined to believe that Io and Dakota get moved than Bailey, but
I would say, well, because Io and Dakota had a legendary feud in NXT, from what I remember. And I feel like if you do, you got to do a triple threat match with them. That would be unbelievable. And when you do that triple threat match, you do it before the draft. And then Bailey goes to SmackDown. Oh, look who's Rhea's next opponent is. Boom. It's Bailey and Rhea. And then you have, for the women's title, you have Io and Dakota vying on Raw.
But that would also mean that Bailey needs to change babyface because she's a heel right now.
No, she can stay how she is because Rhea is like heel face, where the crowd is.
But not if Judgment Day stays together. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I think you could.
If the Judgment Day is going to be moved to SmackDown, then I don't see them just having Rhea become the baby. I don't see that happening. But maybe I'm wrong.
Who knows?
I don't know. Then we had Bobby Lashley versus Bronson Reed. And although people want to say that it may have not been that great, it was
big meaty man slapping meat.
Great match.
I was going to say, you know what they did? They
stand and deliver.
Yeah, they did.
They stood and delivered.
Yes. So, when you saw that this was going to be a match, you were just kind of like, all right, you might have thought like maybe it was a bathroom break match because like on paper, you're not really like, I don't know, invested in this, but, every now and then I think like big men matches are fun to watch. It just depends on who they are because not every big man in wrestling has 3 moves. I mean, I think that match was more entertaining than watching a Brock Lesnar match because all you see with Brock Lesnar is German suplexes and F5s. Like, how entertaining is that? You know what I mean? Like, there's not a whole lot of substance to it. I'm saying if you're not including the fact that he's Brock Lesnar, like take that out of it.
Mm-hmm.
He does 3 moves of doom, as they used to say about John Cena, and that's it. So you can't say that that's like super entertaining. They were doing a whole lot of shit in this match, and it was way entertaining. It had a great back and forth, and it's cool to see Bronson Reed because we even gave him lots of praise for his performance in the Elimination Chamber, and that was when I feel like he kind of came alive. Like, people weren't excited, or maybe they didn't think he should have been in that match, but he was like, I'm going to prove you guys why I'm supposed to be in this match. And I also like it because I was watching a stream, and I'm not going to mention who streamed because I guess he gets some heat online. But anyway, he covers wrestling, and he was talking about how Bronson, came up in the NXT system and he was released twice. And a lot of it is because Vince didn't like him. And that it's because Vince doesn't like the way he looks. That's the problem. And this is just proving once again that just because you maybe don't think he's like as handsome as Roman Reigns or as marketable as like Omos, that it doesn't mean that they're not good enough in the ring to be putting on good matches with other top guys like Bobby Lashley. So I thought this was cool. It was really cool to not see Lashley dominating the entire time. That was something that I really liked.
Yeah.
It was like an equalized match.
And that's the thing that Bronson Reed is going to bring, is that he's going to be a big guy that can do very good moves. I mean, he's a product of the indie scene. So when you have a bigger guy like that who didn't go through the WWE Performance Center and has a little bit more versatility to, his moveset, it makes him a little bit more like, okay, he can go with Bobby Lashley and not have just, big meaty men slapping meat. You're going to have an actual a back and forth match. They're going to be like body slam type moves and, things like that, but they're going to feel thunderous. They're going to feel a little bit different than your standard. And it's just like a dude that can move like that and he's that size.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I
That's
know.
marketable.
And it shows you too how much more Lashley can do, because for the most part they just kind of put him in matches. I mean, how many times have we seen him against Mustafa Ali? Like, he's just there to be this big muscle dude and throw around a smaller guy like a rag doll, you know? So it's like, it's cool when they actually give him an opponent that can keep up with him and can do very similar things, and it's not just, like I said, a complete domination, because there's a time and place for the squash matches, and I think with Lashley they've been trying to do that a lot with him, and it's just kind of annoying. So I'm wondering where they're gonna go with him too, because I didn't particularly love that they had him bring out the trophy, because it just reminds me of what they had Baron Corbin do, where he literally brought it out like every single match for like a year. I swear. I'm like, let's not go down that route again. Like, this is Bobby Lashley.
How heavy is this fucking thing?
I don't know. It doesn't look very heavy to me. Like, it doesn't look well made, if you ask me. Like, for WWE to have so much money, it doesn't look well made to me. But it might be just a prop one. Maybe like the real one is like better. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a hater, but I mean, I'm not hating, but
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Anyway, then we also had Cody Rhodes, and I had to give him a shout out, obviously, because he is just killing it at promos. Like, I just don't understand it, and I don't know how to talk about this every single week when he does it, because it's the same. I'm just saying the same thing. It's just a different day on the calendar. But I will start it with, before we get into everything he said, is there anyone who is currently better than him on the mic?
Yes.
Oh, okay, there is. Okay. I was going to say there's not a whole lot of people there.
MJF.
I'm talking about WWE, but
Okay. I say I want to be Bray Wyatt. I'm sorry. I have to put.
I mean, I'm just
when
saying
he shows up.
What you're being annoying. I'm just saying that he's really good right now.
No, he's fucking fantastic.
That's what I'm saying.
I
is like there's
yeah.
no better promo giver right now in WWE. Is what I'm saying. Like, just
because
like
he's old school.
Because he's
That's
consistent.
the difference. It's old school where it's a wrestling promo, not like
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it too is that he's not afraid to be emotional and to like pull from his real life, which of course he's fortunate in the fact that his character is not a character. It's Cody Rhodes or Cody Runnels. Like, he is being himself, so he is more, I guess, able to do that, or pulling from his life. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just blown away every single week. But, again, I get like mushy when it comes to Cody, because especially this week when I've come across those photos. I don't know if you saw the one that I posted. It was a screen grab someone took of TV dashing Cody Rhodes.
I did see that. That was way funny.
No, that one was so cool because we brought the signs, and then I had some dummy in front of me who had a sign, right? So like, that's why if you see in the picture, I'm literally holding the sign with one hand up like this, because the person in front of me was blocking dashing from being seen. And I was like, no, bitch, you're not gonna cover me. And Cody pointed to us. I think it was after the match was over, because he was a heel. He couldn't point to us. So he pointed to us when the camera was done. And I remember me and my friend were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Because, we were like, dashing Cody Rhodes. We love him so much, And then we met him on Saturday, I guess. Like, it was the day before SummerSlam. And it's crazy to see how different, how things are different, okay? In 2010, he's dashing Cody Rhodes. No one really gives a about him, right? But we were like, oh my God, we're obsessed with him. We liked him before he was dashing. I went through his line to meet him, which was only a photo op. It wasn't even an autograph signing, 2 times in like 3 minutes. That's how short the line was at SummerSlam Access, because nobody was there. I was almost going to be the first person in line, and there was one dude in front of me. And then me and my friend went around again to meet him again because there was no one in line. And then, yeah, anyway, we mentioned to him, like, oh my God, thank you so much for pointing to us. We were the ones that have the Dash and Cody Rhodes posters at SmackDown. Like, oh my God. And he was like, oh no, like, thank you guys. Like, you made my night. And I was like, oh my God. So
that's
that was
incredible.
But anyway, if you want to see that picture, it's on my Twitter. So feel free. But anyway, so Cody got into another emotional promo talking about how he's so sorry to all the fans for losing at WrestleMania, which just broke my heart, because if you watch some of the clips from when WrestleMania was over, you see him in the ring and he's just mouthing "I'm sorry" like to the fans, and I was just like, you know,
So good.
and obviously he knew he was gonna lose. By the way, my article about Cody losing and Paul Heyman talking about how he is going to be a bigger star post WrestleMania. My article about that just came out on the Daily DDT. It was released almost 2 hours ago. So if you guys want to read it, please either follow me on Twitter or go to dailyddt.com and you can read it that way. So he talks about Heyman saying that if he, how he mentioned if you ever get another shot at the title when Roman is champion, he's going to need to earn it. And brother, this fired Cody up and he said, I need to earn it. He was like, bitch, I am it. And I was like, yes, Cody, serve it, brother. And so I loved that. Then he moved on to Lesnar, of course. And I want to ask your opinion. So are they really seriously trying to sell us that Brock Lesnar was mad that he was the first match at WrestleMania and that was why he attacked Cody? Can you explain why?
Okay.
That's a Vince McMahon thing if I've ever heard one.
No. I'm going big brain here.
Okay. Are you did you just say I have a small brain?
No, bigger brain. Like I'm stepping outside my brain.
Okay.
Like we're going vast. Okay, so point is, I believe that this is the first kind of storyline in a way where it breaks the fourth wall of, going on first and, like it actually means something to go on and whatever. And with how Brock has been booked, he's been fun and, he's been, the ass kicker, but like the dad ass kicker. Now he's more like, I'm the beast again. And you can't bring the beast back how it was with Vince in this era. You have to make the beast different with Papa Paul. And the way to do that is make him kind of like a, with diva tendencies.
Okay.
Like, of course, the beast, the man who, took down the Undertaker's undefeated streak, he should be always main eventing and blah, blah, blah. Like they're bringing that type of shit back. And everyone at this point knows like going on first means something, but it's not the main event. Like stuff like that. That's how you do it with Cody. And it's so perfect because now what you can do is have Brock get on the mic and be an asshole about Cody and be like, he doesn't deserve just to come in and win the Royal Rumble after the Peck, and then he's going to try to take down Roman Reigns. I'm happy that Solo was it. Like, it's shit like that.
And who eliminated Brock from... Oh, it was Lashley. Okay.
It was Lashley because then that set up the...
Yeah.
So then you have that, and it was in the works anyways.
No, I know. I heard it had been months in advance. Yeah.
So I feel like Cody's not dumb. Cody, if he's going to go out there, he's going to do something like what I said.
No, I know. I think it just sounds like corny to me, I guess. It's like it just sounds like a really weird thing to say. I mean, obviously it can change and whatever, or they can sell it well. So, I mean, obviously Cody did in his promo, like going with that. And I thought it was cool that they had him kind of like antagonizing Brock because anybody that they've really had feud with Brock, they might have had them have like take a shot at him or something, but it's always been like, oh, Brock is scary. Like, you don't mess with him. Like, you don't want to do anything or say anything wrong about getting in the ring with him if you have to get in the ring with him, because it's always like, no, you don't want to have a match with Brock Lesnar. He's the beast. He's scary. So I like that Cody is going with this like no fear type of mentality, even though he did say like he is scared of Lesnar, but like he's going to take advantage of the moments that Lesnar gives him in a match if Lesnar accepts his match at Backlash. So I don't know. I thought it was a cool direction for him to go in because he wasn't necessarily cowering to him the way that a lot of baby faces would in that situation.
Yeah.
So next week we find out if Brock accepts his challenge. And I had another question. Did you see how many people were freaking out because he called it WrestleMania Backlash? I just want to understand, like, Did you know
Yeah,
that they
that's
but did you know
the
that they dropped WrestleMania Backlash? I didn't know until people were freaking out that they weren't calling it that anymore.
I just it's to me, I think it's foolish for them to freak out because it's Backlash.
Well, it's been
Backlash
WrestleMania
means
Backlash the last
revenge.
well, and it means they've had it called WrestleMania Backlash the last few years. So it's like
Yeah, but
Cody was probably
that's
just
what's pissing people off.
yeah, but it's like but Cody didn't go in there with that intention. It was just like, oh wait, okay, like yeah, that's what they've been calling it. Like
Yeah.
it's just people are
But
just
to me, like
weird.
them saying WrestleMania Backlash is them just like slapping you in the face with like something that like a hidden message or something.
I
Like,
don't
of
know.
course, Backlash is after WrestleMania. Backlash
Yeah,
means for like revenge and whatnot. And when we were growing up in the early '90s and 2000s, like Backlash was always a pay per view after WrestleMania, so it just makes sense.
and it was
So
always the pay-per-view that like ended the feuds that were at Mania.
exactly.
So yeah, I
So
don't know.
like to me, call it whatever you want.
Yeah. I just was like you were acting like he was out there saying like I can't wait to see you in Puerto Rico next month for SummerSlam. It's like no, that's not like that was just like the reaction that people were giving and I was just like you guys are
It's
so
not our
dramatic.
truth. This man knows what he's talking about.
It
He's
was just
insane.
so bizarre to me. So anyway, obviously I'm interested to see what type of Brock Lesnar we get next week. I'm assuming that he will accept and I think that's going to be a really interesting match. I hope that it's not one where Cody just gets squashed, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're being honest. And also don't forget to check out my article on the Daily DDT about Cody. Moving on, then we had Alpha Academy versus the Usos. And before they had their match, we saw Otis is having some issues on deciding between the Maximum Male Models and Chad Gable. So there's some inner turmoil there, some tension, all of that, which is interesting. And then there was a flip in the dynamic in this match because first of all, both of them are supposed to be heel tag teams. But it looks like the Alpha Academy might be making a switch because they were definitely the baby faces in this match and people were eating them up. Like everything.
Who doesn't love the Alpha Academy right now? That's the thing, is that Chad Gable's just made himself too goddamn likable. And
Well,
I mean Otis
yeah.
is the great like I strictly will only refer to him as Otis until
He's
further
just
notice.
so naturally like charismatic and he reads the audience really well, so he knows when to like play it up or to do something like funny or to catch you off guard. Like he plays to the audience a lot. Like if you sit there and actually watch a match with Alpha Academy, you can see how much he actually is catering to what the fans want, whether it's good, bad, whatever, just because depending on the character at the moment.
Yeah.
So it was a good match. Obviously, it's super weird to see the Usos without the tag
I was
titles.
gonna say that before. It's so weird to see them without
It
belts.
is.
It was
Yeah.
weird. It was,
Yeah. And so obviously the Usos
got
win
lied.
with the 1D. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great match. I'm interested to see the direction again of which they go with Alpha Academy because they might they'll have to probably see them one more time at least. Maybe portrayed as the good guys and before completely deciding to go in that direction. But I think it's because, like you said, they're too likable at this point. Like you kind of you're behind both of them, but they also you love the element of the Maximum Male Models because it's funny. So it's like even though they're supposed to be the bad ones, like calling. I think didn't she call Gable like a troll or something?
like it's
So
you need that comedic element in wrestling.
Yeah.
That's what ties it together. Is you need, and sometimes, like for instance, Chad Gable is Kurt Angle of this era.
Mm-hmm.
Just take it for what it is. What did Kurt Angle do better than anyone in that era, other than The Rock, was the comedic value. And like he was just too, like he's so innocent. You know what I mean? That like his bits with Austin, you can do that with Gable, with Otis and the male models. You
Yeah.
can have him like be with anyone and it'll just vibe so well.
Yeah, I know. And the thing with Angle too is that wasn't the direction that they went for a while. It was kind of, it reminds me too of like I was watching the I don't know, it was Legends, the A&E
A&E.
Legends things on Booker T, and that is another guy where, you know, for the longest time at the beginning of his career, whatever, he was always like the very serious, like dominating character. And then WWE realized, no, this guy is really charismatic and funny. And there's just like so many moments throughout his career that are hilarious, not to mention King Booker. So it's like,
King Booker.
yeah, so it's like, you know, I think that's another one of those moments where it's like you kind of got to take advantage of it. Otherwise, it's just like a wasted trait that they have that you're just,
opportunity.
yeah, exactly. So then we end the show with
Hold on,
Kevin
can we get
Owens.
some comments first before we wrap up?
Oh yeah, I didn't see any. Sorry.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, Razor with when it comes to the big women category in wrestling, is Piper Niven one of the best? Honestly, yes.
Yeah.
In WWE, there's another one, Willow Nightingale, who is in AEW and Ring of Honor. Northeast girl too. She was Beyond Wrestling with the BRG. But those are two. I mean, Piper Niven is one of those wrestlers that, like, yeah, her size is one thing, but nah, she's got all the in-ring ability that you need.
I'd much rather watch her match than like a Nia Jax match.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
Oh,
like
that is the opposite.
Nia, yeah, Nia gave, you know, I like that she was involved in the whole thing about, you know, her character, that she was almost like the opposite of what the other women were, because she was bigger and she was taller and she was Samoan and, you know, whatever. Like, that's great. And I like the, you know, inclusivity, if that's a word, obviously. But she just was not good in the ring. So I like that you can watch a Piper match and you're not sitting there being like, oh, that was bad. Oh, that was a mess up. Oh, botch. You know, like, it's not happening. So yeah, I would say though, and there's not really a whole lot of other girls that are like her right now, which is kind of unfortunate, actually.
If I was booking King Razor again, if I was booking Bobby Lashley on that episode of Mania, Roman actually won the tag match, broke the trophy. I would have just liked to see that in general if he broke the trophy over his back, just because that's wrestling. So
Yeah. Well, and I feel like Bobby doesn't need the trophy to like catapult him. You know, he's Bobby Lashley. He doesn't need it to be like a prop to be like, remember, I won this match. It's like, Lashley, like, no. Like,
I don't think he wants to remember.
No, he probably is like making someone else bring it out. Like, I don't even want it. Like, no.
David saying that LA Knight could be up there with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. But they cut different types of promos, you know. LA Knight is very much a character. Cody's not. So I appreciate them for what they do differently.
Cody and MJF now, with the level MJF is on now, and their feud in the past, that would be good. That'd be pretty good. And then I get a personal question. Love when I get asked personal questions. Do you watch the videos of MJF signs? Because I'm obsessed with him living the gimmick 24/7, but there's no way in hell WWE would ever allow him to be that way. Yes, exactly. However, money can always change a person. MJF has pretty much said that. So yeah, you would get an MJF type of character in WWE. Would he be that much of an asshole? I don't think he'd be sack tapping fans at events. But I think it's another level. MJF is playing on a different field, and I'm including Roman Reigns. They're just,
I think, well, David's talking about the latest video was MJF was doing a signing and he signed like action figures, and once he was done signing it, he just threw it in front of him like on the floor, signed the next one, threw it on the floor.
That's
and it's like, and I mean, I get why WWE wouldn't necessarily want that, because they are supposed to be more kid friendly than AEW, but I feel like, first of all, when MJF comes, or if he comes to WWE, there's not going to be a huge audience that's not familiar with him. You know, like, you don't have to watch AEW to know who MJF is. Like, I know who he is. My sister knows who he is, and she like doesn't pay attention to anything to do with wrestling for the most part.
Wrestling know who MJF is.
So like they're not going to be unfamiliar with the things that he does or how he conducts himself. So it's like, if your kid is sensitive, you're not going to take your kid to meet MJF so that he can cry about his action figure being thrown on the ground. It's just kind of like one of those things that I feel like you'd feel honored that he did that to you, because that's like another memory that you have.
Oh my God. I would love to be sack tapped by MJF.
All right. I don't know what that means, but I don't want to know. It
I was
sounds
gonna
weird.
say just that to be in his presence.
Okay. Anyway, so we finally get to the main event, which was Kevin Owens
Here's
versus
a guy I'd
Solo
like to sack
Sikoa,
tag.
who you know, Kevin Owens was all by himself because they were saying that Mr. Matt Riddle and Sami Zayn had got caught up in the travel issue, so he was all by his lonesome. But Solo, of course, was flanked by some of the bloodline because Roman was not there.
We had travel issues.
Yeah. Like every Raw and every SmackDown,
Well, it's
you know,
tough to
every
get
week.
out of the island of relevancy. There's
Yeah,
only one
especially when you
flight.
have a private plane.
Yeah,
But
it's one
anyway,
flight.
so they had a good match. Obviously, the storytelling is still there. Owens loses because of an interference from the Usos, and Solo is given the opportunity to hit the Samoan spike. Then the Bloodline attacks Owens after the match, like it's deja vu. And then magically, Sammy and Riddle's flight landed, and they are running through the arena in the back, already in their gear, ready to defend their friend Kevin Owens. So they come out and they defend him, and then we at the end we just see the three of them staring at each other. And I'm like, oh, so this is your way of not having Roman on TV. Okay, I'm just gonna magically forget about Roman Reigns being the leader of the bloodline, but that's okay. I wanted to ask this too. So, from a logical standpoint, and please remember that part. From
I
a
feel like I
logical
was
standpoint,
folded.
how does it make sense for us to believe that people like the Bloodline or Solo, Roman, whatever, are these such dominant forces in WWE if they consistently need help to win a match? From a logical standpoint. And I say that because obviously it's a heel
Cheaters
move.
don't
But
use logic.
what doesn't who?
Cheaters don't use
Oh,
logic.
but I'm just saying it's like even
Bad.
the
It's you need to.
same
They
the
need to
same
do it.
the same streamer, same guy that was streaming, he was saying how it's like even makes the referees look dumb because you guys know that they're trying to distract you to have an interference and the referees fall for it every single time. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't care. I like the bloodline. I enjoy them. I am just thinking that it's becoming too much. Like, I think that if they're supposed to still be at the top of the company and they're supposed to be a scary group to face, then it needs to be like, okay, Solo shouldn't need any help to win the match. Like, if he had an undefeated streak until they had Cody beat him before WrestleMania. But like, we need to, shouldn't we have that continue going? But it should be because Solo continues it, not because, you know, brother 1 and brother 2 come in and help you. I don't know.
It's more that they were just. I think you'll see that wind down when they stop with the Bloodline versus Sammy and KO storyline, and you're gonna see Solo just go on tears.
Yeah.
You know, just because right now it's like you're expecting it. You know, it's like, all right, Solo and KO. When are they gonna come out and end with a big brawl or whatever? And they just came out a little early. You know, it's just one of the, like I don't see any issue with it as of now because it's the story connecting it. But if you know you're gonna continue Solo's dominance and have them cheat to win, yeah, then that's gonna be a bit of an issue.
I feel like it makes more sense for Solo to get involved in the Usos match because it's like, okay, they lost their titles at WrestleMania. So it's like, we want to make them look as good as possible. So, like, stacking wins makes them look good no matter how they get the win. Helping Solo doesn't make sense to me, but,
what if it could be building to him just being like, stop helping me?
It's possible because, I mean, we got to that point with Roman. So
that's what I mean. So,
yeah.
You know, maybe it's built into that. So,
maybe. But as far as Riddle goes, we get that, you know, what? I can't stand him. We understand the connection between him and Solo because he took him out and, you know, to give him time off of TV to go to rehab, whatever. But how do you feel about Riddle's insertion into this and being the guy that's teaming up with KO and Sammy to go against the Bloodline?
If it's a one-off at the just for him to get his payback on Solo,
Yeah, like
fine.
at Backlash or something.
Yeah, like Backlash, it plays into the pay-per-view, fine. But I swear, if Riddle is hanging around and doing this bro stuff with KO and Sammy, like he's gonna get buried by them incidentally because they're just like, dude, what are you doing? Like that's who they are. Like they would be like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
So if he's just doing it and then they expect him to do that bro stuff and he's like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to go do my own thing. And then he just becomes like the MMA fighter that caged the whatever. What was the match he had with Rollins? The dungeon? The dojo?
No, it was like, oh. No, it was
What's
it wasn't a death match. It was like, I don't remember. But anyway, yeah.
The point is like that type of wrestler, and that's the way he's going. His gimmick's going to go.
Yeah.
And he just starts kicking ass. Then I like it because it gives him an identity without giving him one. Like he doesn't have to do the 420 bro stuff. Like he can wear the shirt, he can do the entrance stuff, but maybe on the mic he's a little bit more serious. I did enjoy his back and forth with Rollins. I think his feud with Rollins helped show a little bit that he can let out some emotion and actually speak in a cohesive sentence. So
except the thing
that to build on.
The cringiest thing though is like that's just how he talks in real life, and that's why I'm just like, oh, like who can have a conversation with you? Like the way he speaks on WWE television is how he speaks in real life, and I'm just I can't. Like you're a character all the time. You are the stoned kid in a high school series sitcom, but you never are not that kid. It's just so annoying. He did say in his like comeback video or whatever when they did like a behind the scenes thing of his return on Raw, that he did want to be a little bit more of a serious character and like, I just became a black belt in jiu-jitsu and blah blah blah. So he like wants to use that. So I'm interested to see if he does do that because that's quite a shift from what his current character is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be fine with this if it, like you said, if it's just a thing to get back at Solo for taking him out. But if they keep him around, I'm going to say again for the millionth time is that they don't believe that he can hang by himself because they just keep pairing him with somebody, and that if they keep him, tied to Sammy and Owens, then it's just proving even more that they don't believe in him as a single star because they just keep like attaching him to a new person that's way over. So they're like, oh yeah, you'll do fine here. It's like, no. So yeah, as long as it's that, then whatever. But if it's more than that, then no, thank you. That was Raw.
That was Raw. That was a good Raw. I'd take a B. I'll go B+ because of last week's incident.
I'd probably just say it was like a B.
Okay. That's a good rating though to have on.
I mean, even a C.
C+.
Just because it's like an average. It was average. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. I'm just comparing it to like some of the last few Raws like that we've seen over the last like month or so, and it was like, oh, that was so good, you know. So putting it at like a B makes it seem like it wasn't that much below what we've been accustomed to, you know.
You're more fair. You're more. I'm rocking with emotions right now.
Yeah.
So, we have one more question before we go.
Okay.
From the Kingdom of Razor. Sarah, I don't know if you liked Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but if she was an actual wrestler in this era, what 3 females would she feud with?
I actually never watched this. I'm familiar with it, but I never watched it. I think my mom watched Angel, which was a spinoff, right? Oh, okay. Angel of spinoff. It was a spinoff, yeah. I don't know.
Alexa Bliss.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Nikki Cross.
Sarah Michelle Gellar isn't very big.
Yeah, but Nikki Cross, I feel like would be a great.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And maybe, I don't know, like even Rhea, because Rhea's like, a dark, scary lady. So.
What about Piper Niven? Like she has him as her bodyguard in a way.
Maybe.
Like I feel like she would play well in the Buffy multiverse.
Did you watch Buffy?
I've seen clips.
Oh, okay. I've never watched it. That's definitely like not my era, but it was just it's weird because I really enjoyed Twilight, but that was the first time that I was ever into something of like the supernatural thing. Like I am not a Harry Potter fan whatsoever. I don't understand the hype of it. Like I don't. My mom and my sister are obsessed with it, so like every time it's on TV, they'll put it on, and I'm just like I don't
Yeah.
understand what's going on. But yeah, I was never into that type of stuff. So yeah, I'm not I understand what she did on the show, but like I couldn't tell you like details and stuff. But yeah. Anyway.
That's all we got.
Mhm.
Thank you all for tuning in. All right, to another rewind. We'll be back this week for a podcast episode. Last week we had on my good friend, my good pal, the victorious one, the Let's Wrestle champion, Victorious BRG, Brett Ryan Gosling. He came on as our first guest on the show. Real big thanks to him for coming on and talking not only about his wrestling upbringing and fandom, but also, what it's like to win the Let's Wrestle title, a little bit of behind the curtain, a little bit with talk. And, I learned a little bit more about, the industry after watching it. So go watch that in Sarah's archives, which we have some clips that are going to go up from that. But, if you want to watch more than the 2 clips we have up right now, where it's a podcast. All right. It's part of the podcast, Pits and Sarah's Wrestling Podcast, on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there for that episode. And leave that 5-star rating, hit that subscribe button, and leave a comment too. Positive comments. We need positive comments, please, on that podcast homepage. So go, please, write a couple. And then when you do, you go and follow us and hit us up on the Twitter and Instagram machines. My Twitter at Pat_Pits and at SMarshXO for Sarah. And then Instagram at Pitsy35 and at SMarsh_. All right. We'll be back this week for another episode of that and the SmackDown breakdown as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We'll see you next episode.